Close the session, and we're now going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance for the I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Mayor Head. Present. Council President Sharon Hatch.
Present.
Vice President Lee Johnson.
Present.
Councilor Talia Dubois.
Present.
Councilor Carlette Brooks.
Present.
Councilor Toby. Councilor Toby Monroe. Councilor Leanna Roca.
Here.
Representative of Mr. Martin Hunter of office. Thank you. Our finance director, Mr. Smith. Our tax collector, Yolanda Hughes. Our engineer, Mr. Joseph Houston.
Present.
Thank you, sir, all present council.
Okay. I'm going to ask Mr. Boggs to give a brief description of our first, before that, our citizens forum. The limitation is 3 minutes per citizen, and starting, there will be on the agenda items only. Agenda items only, Mr. Ronald Green.
Good evening to everybody. Tonight I'm giving honor first to the young man and everybody that has died in this community. This is why I'm wearing the yellow. So I'm letting everybody know. These people need justice. Okay, good evening to everybody. I'm here tonight again. I'm very concerned about the intersection at Bailey and Church Lane, right here, and the gas station. I go to the gas station, I stand there. I feel air coming behind me, cars cutting through. Now, they were talking about 2 phases of this so-called camera. Let's cut it out. Let's get the camera up there. Let's make money for Yale, not just take pictures. Because right now, we are not safe. Our kids are not safe. So that's my plea. I'm tired of coming up here and speaking and coming back with no solutions. The other thing is, I need all of y'all to come together and take care of this community because it's not being done. You got to stop the fighting among each other. Before we can rise, we got to love one another. I want something done, please. And as far as the police, I don't know where they're at. There was a shooting here also Tuesday night at 8 o'clock at Myers and Church Lane. I was in that vicinity. I did call yesterday and I talked with Miss Patty. Miss Patty says she did not hear anything about it. No, you didn't hear. I don't call 911 because when I call, they're saying I'm crying wolf. Yes, there was a shooting out there. We need some trained officers, new officers.
Mr. Green, can I interrupt
Have a
you?
good evening.
Excuse me for interrupting you, but it's probably going to be a whole lot more going on out here in Yaden. As long as people put stuff like on next door, like Yaden only have 2 police officers, you are inviting
Yes, you
these
are.
people into the borough. You are putting everybody's life in
Yes.
danger.
That's crazy.
That
Yes.
is dangerous. That should have never, ever happened.
Right. What I have been
So,
saying.
I understand what you're saying, and believe me, this is a New Year's coming, and prayerfully, all of council, including the mayor, we will be working together and with the community. Prayerfully, we could work together, no arguing. These things that you're saying, you've been saying it every time you come, we need to get it done.
Yes.
And I'm gonna try my best
Yeah.
with my colleagues to get some things done.
Okay, I got 2 more things. I did ask for signs. Where are the signs at? The last meeting, somebody said I had cardboard signs out there. I'll get you signs. It's another meeting. Where are the signs? This is what I'm talking about. You got a lot of talk, but no action. The other thing, now, just like they put out on the megaphone lines about voting and all of that, you got 7 people up there. Why can't y'all get something done? Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
You're welcome.
Colleen Kennedy?
Thank you for letting me speak. Just a couple of things. I wanted to thank the council president for including in the agenda today consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding between the Upper Darby Township Police Department and the Yeadon Borough Police Department. I hope that this will unanimously be passed today. I hope we will get to that part of the meeting and we will unanimously pass it. I also wanted to thank Mayor Hopkins for taking my call a couple of weeks ago to start to figure out the plan for this. And I also want to thank Mayor Keffer of Upper Darby and the police department over there for working together in a time of need. The other suggestion that I just wanted to offer, take it or leave it, is that I've been coming to a lot of these meetings and people suggest or ask for the same things, and then we don't seem to have a ton of movement. And sometimes those things are complicated, so it takes a while to figure it out. But if we could have a running checklist, which I think is sort of what the minutes are for, and then at the beginning of the meeting, you review the progress on some of these items, I think that people will have more trust in the audience that they're being worked on when they probably are being worked on. And I think that the MOU is an area where we need to have a regular update at every meeting. So for example, if someone gets arrested and then we take them to Upper Darby, at the next meeting after that, an update should be provided specific to that because of the seriousness of the situation. So I just wanted to offer that as an idea. Feel free to do it or not do it, and thank you for your time.
I agree, thank you. Clara Johnson?
Is she calling?
Yes.
At the last meeting, at the workshop meeting, Sharon, you said that because there were so many questions that was asked and you could not answer them, you said that we could ask those questions to the people when they got here. I have a question for Mr. Dotson that I could not ask because he was absent at the last meeting. My question to Mr. Dotson is, at the last meeting, you said that in your minutes about 2 grants, well, monies that was coming into the borough. Can you elaborate on that? Because just like Colleen said, you guys never get back to us on those things. Also, you stated that there was monies coming in from Anthony Williams to be shared between the borough and the Nile. Again, can you elaborate on that? I'll even give him some of my minutes so you don't say I used up 3. But can you elaborate? Because if we was at a workshop meeting, he would have been able to answer. Thank you.
So I'll say it this way. Both of the grants are from the same source. What happened is that I got a call from Mr. Williams' office that we would be entitled to or receive $100,000. The $100,000, we would get $100,000 for Yeadon, and the Nile Swim Club would receive $100,000. The process was skewed because it didn't come through my office. Councilor Brooks and Mr. Rufus Stokes spoke to Mr. Williams' office. And in speaking to Mr. Williams' office, he agreed that Yeadon would not receive money towards a recreation center. When we applied for the share grant, that was $1 million, we didn't get any of that money. I assume that 1/9 of that money is our money, and that is part of that shared grant. So we did not receive up to $1 million towards our recreation center, and that's what we put down our scope of work to be done. So we had nothing to do with, to make a long story short, I had nothing to do with securing the $100,000
That's not what I was asking you. What I was asking you is, did you apply for it? And if so.
No, ma'am, we never
what-
applied, we
and
never
you
applied for it.
I gotta ask the question.
But you
if I
asked the
may.
question already.
Answer what you think I'm gonna say.
We never applied, I never received an application to apply for $100,000
For which,
for the money that Mr. Rudy called me to say that we would receive.
the money that would be coming from Senator Anthony
That's
Williams'
exactly
office?
right.
Okay, and what about the other one?
There is no other money. It was simply $100,000 for Yaden Borough and $100,000 for the Nile Swim Club. He asked me, where are the applications? I said in turn, there are no applications except for the share fund application. I therefore sent that to him. So there's a serious mix-up in terms of us being allocated $100,000 in the shared fund grant. We never.
What about the feasibility study?
What about that one, ma'am?
Yeah.
We're
weren't
gonna
we-
cover that. We're gonna cover the feasibility.
Tonight?
Yes.
Okay, all right. The other thing, because he answered my question, now I'm on the AP list, which is on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, why are we paying $336 for a Sharon's Yaton Town Hall? Because clearly, it was not a Yaton's Town Hall, because only you could pick the questions that you wanted to answer the questions in the manner that you wanted to answer. Even if a question was submitted and you answered a question and there was a question for your answer to the question, it could not be done. Most of Yaden was cut out. Why are we paying for that? That's a question.
Which line item is that, Council?
It's for the Zoom town meeting.
Is that the one reimbursement for NJN?
Yes, for three.
For the Zoom subscription? Who was the subscription for? The borough?
Borough's account, the borough's Zoom account for years, since we've had Zoom, has been attached to my business credit card. So that's the renewal for the.
I
borough
understand that,
account.
Mr. Nichols, and honest to goodness, you're the best thing that happened to this borough as far as finance. So I'm really not questioning you. I understand that. My question is, like you said, it's for the borough. That was for Sharon. Why are we paying Sharon
You're not.
for her
You
Zoom
want-
meeting?
Right, that wasn't for that particular meeting, that's the
That's for
annual
the
fee,
renewal.
so that was a renewal, so any counselor can use, Mr. Dodson, the police, can use that Zoom account, that was just the account fee for the year. It just so happened to renew in December. If you go back in prior years, you'll probably see a reimbursement to
Understandable.
be on there as well.
Understandable. My last thing is Mr. Scott, in fact, the cat in the hat? Because if he's not, then we've overlapped in videography payment, because he was videography when it was on the agenda, on the AP list to pay the cat in the hat.
May I
So
answer
what's
that?
going on there?
Solomon Williams is the gentleman that you're referring to with the cat.
I'm
The
sorry.
cat with the hat.
I'm
His
sorry.
name is Solomon Williams.
That's the cat in the hat.
Solomon
So why was he
Williams.
videographing when we were paying someone else?
He was paid
No,
just
he
for
was
one-
out there videoing.
The guy, the gentleman you're talking about did 1 2-hour video, a workshop.
That we owed him $800 for that?
No, he was paid 300. He will not be getting
No,
$800.
sugar, I'm sorry.
I
It's a-
have everything right here.
Well, I
I've
don't know
already
what you
looked
have
into
there,
it.
but
I've
I
done
know
the
what was on
research.
it.
He will not be receiving $800. He was paid $300, and that's it. He has no balance.
$300 was given to Mr. Joel Avery. Mr. Joel Avery asked that $800 be paid to the cat in the hat, cash money. That was on the AP list, verbatim quote.
No, he's only been paid $300.
Okay, let me just give some clarification on questions that are asked. Generally speaking, this legislative session is to do the considerations, allow the audience to speak, and actually answer your questions after the meeting. You can talk to Mr. Dotson, he'll be available for those questions. It is really important to get through the agenda, that's why we're here, to handle the business of the town. For the next person, public wanting to speak is Anna. Would you come up, please?
This one? Good evening, everyone. Thanks
Good
for
evening.
allowing me to speak. The main things that I'm concerned about is the budget and expenses. We know that Dayton is in a bad financial situation, and one of the main things that we really need to do is take a look with regards to any of the expenses that are in our budget. Even for the ones that we spend for 2022, we spent a lot, but in some areas, we really didn't need to spend as much as we spent. One of the counselors said with regards to the newsletter, we spent $40,000. Yes, newsletters are good to have, but we really don't need to spend $40,000. We need to take a look with regards to our legal expenses. Yes, we do need to have attorneys, but do we really need the amount that we're spending on right now? And I see one of the agenda items is for hiring another attorney. What exactly is that attorney for? Same thing with the insurance premiums. I'm very concerned with regards to the fact that they are going, well, we expected them to go up a little bit, but not necessarily as much as they are, and how much of those increases is actually because of the lawsuits that we have incurred. And some of those lawsuits may have been of our doing, and we may not have necessarily had to incur some of those lawsuits, like the Restore one. So I would like that you would take a better look with regards to every single item that's in the budget and see if there are other places that we can cut the expenses. One of the counselors mentioned something with regards to moving some money. I forget if it was $400,000 or $500,000 to the revenue replacement. I am concerned with regards to what she said. Well, I agree with what she said. I am concerned with regards to where we place it because I don't want it spent on things that are unnecessary expenses, which are nice to have things. We really need to take a look with regards to what's important to our community. Two other things with regards to public safety. I think that's very important. I think we really do need to focus with regards to the police. I hope that we can start moving with regards to the Civil Service Commission. I know that we're all, everybody here is definitely very concerned with regard to public safety. I think even everyone on the council is. I think we need to take a look with regards to hiring full-time officers though versus part-timers. There's multiple concerns with regards to having part-time officers. Yes, they're good, but they may very well be looking for a full-time job. They're not getting benefits when they're serving as part-time officers. And two other points that I wanted to make with regards to, we said that infrastructure, we know that we had a problem with the sewers and we needed to have money with regards to that. So yes, that was a necessary expenditure, but then doesn't the same thing go with regards to public safety? Don't we really need to make that a priority? And then the last thing that I will say is when we're looking with regards to our vendors for this community, if we could make sure that we are hiring qualified vendors and vendors that are at a market rate, not in excess of a market rate, and that we make sure that the vendors that we are hiring are actually providing us with quality service. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Anna. Liz?
Last year, we came out of the pandemic. Previous administration came in under budget. Half of the FOP settlement was paid last year. This year, you only had to pay for $138,500. That's what you fired Chief Chachi over, $138,500. Expenses like that are what the American Recovery Funds were supposed to do. That was a pandemic expense. That's the only thing we had to pay to recover. The American Recovery Funds were not intended to be used to cover up your money mismanagement, Sharon. You're hemorrhaging money, paying for professional services that serve only Sharon Council Harris and not the community or other counselors. We've paid at least $50K for your personal appeal against Restore Medical Marijuana Dispensary, $54K for your personal consultant, Joel Avery. You are mismanaging money and you refuse to do the real business of the borough. You refuse to appoint the recommended Public Works employee to the position of foreman. You've been stalling for months, You said you had someone else in mind, as if you fancy yourself more capable of judging than the superintendent who has worked in the Public Works Department for decades. Well, where is this person you have in mind? What's the holdup? Does he need to get a criminal record expunged? Is he having trouble clearing a drug test? Is he still trying to pass the CDL test? By the end of next month, we will have lost half of our police department under your administration, Sharon. Yet you still refuse to do the business of the borough and appoint any of the qualified applicants to the volunteer position of the Civil Service Commission, which is required so an ad to hire officers can be placed. An appointment doesn't cost any money. It's a volunteer position. Hiring new full-time officers to replace the ones who are leaving does not add to the budget. The Civil Service Commission is required by the state. You aren't following the rules, Sharon. Councilor Roadcloud and Councilor Monroe keep trying to help you follow the rules, but you won't follow the rules. They remind you, and they remind you. You've been on council before. You've been on council for 15 years. You've been president before. You're supposed to know the rules. Why can't you fulfill the requirements of your position when other councilors and and residents keep reminding you, and you can't do the business with the borough?
Well, there's our answer.
There's no one, any other residents wishing to speak? Is that it? All right, thank you. Consideration, I'm going to ask our solicitor to explain this condition, the tax levy. You want to explain the tax levy?
Yes, again, all the tax levy, the budget, and the ARPA funds are contingent on how you guys are going to approve the budget. I have to say that because the tax levy that is presented tonight, ordinance number 2022-1400, is a tax levy that has a zero increase in the millage rate. It keeps the real estate transfer tax at 1%. It keeps the earned income tax at 1%. It sets the trash fee at $300 per household. It sets the sewer fee at $9 per 1,000 gallons, plus the 50 for the PIMVest. So that's what the tax ordinance that is here proposed does. Again, if the council's not going to approve the budget, it's all contingent.
Well, I will ask the councilor's pleasure here tonight. Your consideration for passing the budget as presented by our finance director. What is your pleasure? May I have a motion?
No, my pleasure is to, for us to sit down and decide on a tax increase.
My
I think
pleasure
we
is
need
to
to do
vote.
that.
Let's vote.
Motion to table, passing the budget. So moved.
Well, she asked about the budget.
Motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
So let's.
Okay, I'd like to,
Questions about the motion?
question on the motion to table?
I have a question, I have a statement, rather. Well, a question. So
Can
we
you
have
move
to,
your mask so we can hear you?
we have to pass this by December 31st, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Beatty? Ms. Roadcloud?
And for clarity, Mr. Solicitor, was tabled, the budget and the tax levy, or the budget?
I believe Vice President Johnson had just started to ask questions, and then Councilor Beatty specifically motioned to table this particular budget. And that was-
Okay.
So we never got to any discussion or motion of anything other than tabling this budget.
Okay.
And so now there is the, any question, the questions related to tabling it? Mhm.
So if we table this budget, it needs to be seriously taken care of before the end of the month.
It's required by law before
I
December
understand that, but
31st.
But I'm asking, and this will be tabled until when?
You'll have to have a special meeting called. You're gonna have to have a
She should have
special
started in
meeting.
September like it was supposed to have been done. She started late, but it's some.
Nothing has been
the
started
budget was
late, no,
supposed to
no.
start in September.
Counselor, nothing was started late, and no comments from the audience, please.
You don't have to answer me
Yes.
that. I didn't ask you anything. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
So are we voting on the motion or not? Because there's a motion on the floor.
As soon as the discussion's done.
After the discussion, then we're gonna do the discussion. And Counselor Johnson, I mean, this, you know how important it is to get the budget done by the end of this year.
It is, I know we must have
Yeah,
done it.
but-
I mean, it's imperative that we do it.
So
But
that-
I think that we needed to sit and discuss
Right.
where whether we're gonna do a 1%, we don't wanna hurt the residents, but we also need to make sure that we have money to pay for trash, to pay for infrastructure,
Right.
for anything that has to be
If it
done.
has to be
There has to be some sort of
before the new
increase.
year, so
We
be it.
may not
It's
have
our
to do,
responsibility.
we may not have to do 2%, maybe we can do 1.5%, but we need to do something.
As long as it's
Counselor
after
Johnson.
Christmas.
I have a question.
Excuse me, I have the floor.
I have a question. I'm letting you know I have a question.
The Counselor Johnson,
Talk to your mic.
Yes.
have you had an opportunity to speak with the finance director with regards to this budget?
I have.
Okay, and so have you shared with him your reservations up until now?
I see she's trying to force.
I'm just asking
At
the
this
question.
point, after hearing her speak tonight, I believe that we need some sort of increase. I would hope it could be just 1%.
Right.
It would help. I don't know if we can really do this and not do some sort of increase that will not hurt the residents. I think residents are willing for us to have a 1% increase because we need money to have things done.
You have a balanced budget, Counselor. You don't have.
You're trying to persuade her. You're trying to persuade
You
her.
do not have.
We are almost at zero,
No,
Madam
we're-
President.
Yeah, but you have $1,000,001 in this budget that, from the federal government, that balances this budget and keeps you from having any deficit.
Madam President, I sat here and I added up exactly what it would cost to the penny for a 1%, 1.5%, 1.7%, and 2%. One mil would only be, what was it, $13? I mean,
That's not gonna, yeah, who
it's
can
not
afford
much,
that?
it's really
That's
not
crazy.
gonna hurt anyone.
Right. But you know, excuse me, but, and I understand what you're saying, Counselor Johnson, but with any amount of taxes going up, it's gonna hurt the residents.
Right.
Because for one, we don't have a business privilege tax out here. That's for two. For two, if we consider hiring full-time police officers, that's going to take more money. That's going to
And maybe
actually.
that's why we need an increase, so we can help to pay them.
Okay,
Well,
so,
right.
yeah, and I agree. I'm
And
not.
I have a question.
I'm not against, hiring the full-time police officers. I'm not against the going up to $13 a month for the tax. I can pay my taxes. But you're saying, and everybody's saying, we have to work for the community, for the residents. Everybody's saying $13, anybody can pay that. That's not true. You have people out here that's struggling
That's right.
to pay their taxes now.
That's
So
true.
we're just having a conversation here. So what I'm saying is that It's a lot of things that we collectively need to sit down and talk about.
That's what the
We do.
motion was made
We do.
for. That's
Okay.
why I made the motion.
So the one thing I really think we have to
It's
discuss.
gonna die.
And that's why we tabled
die.
it. That's why it's being
So
so we
could
can
we,
sit down
could we
and
have
talk
a,
about it.
Motion is gonna
could,
die.
if
The
we
one
do
thing
table
we-
it, could
Okay,
we
excuse
have
me.
this meeting, like,
Long as it's
tomorrow?
Long as
Fine
it's
with
after
me.
Christmas. I mean, we can have it tomorrow, but
Because we have to do this
immediately,
not sooner.
I have a question.
Just a moment.
I have a question. I've been said I had a question
Right, just a
before
moment.
Councilor Brooks
Just a moment.
indicated,
Just
asked
a
her
moment.
question.
I
So,
want to-
no, we're going to
No.
be fair this
No, she
evening.
had a
We're going
question
to be
before
fair
other
this
people chimed in.
evening.
We've been having a good meeting, so, Madam President, could you please let, Councilor Brooke answer questions?
She asked.
Let's just, this is how we start getting along.
Thank you, Paulette.
And no need for that, but I'm just saying, we have to start somewhere.
Thank you very much.
Somewhere.
I only
Councilor
wanted
Brooks.
to make-
Thank you.
I only wanted to
And
make, while we
Councilor
were in this
Gracias.
circle, just a moment. While we were in the
I have a
circle,
question.
just a moment, Counselor,
See,
you
this
can
is
hold.
what I'm talking about.
Counselor,
Then when I start
Counselor,
showing my colors, you
Okay.
get upset.
Counselor.
I have a question with respect
Counselor.
to the motion that's on the floor.
Counselor, just a
No,
moment.
no,
Just
it's
a
not
moment.
the Sharon
No.
Council Harris show.
Counselor,
I've been asked for
Counselor,
the floor.
and it is the chair's
No, it's not
prerogative
your
to
chair,
give.
your
Yes, it is,
prerogative. I
Counselor.
have the same amount of
Counselor,
authority
no, you
as
don't,
you do.
Counselor, you don't.
I have a question.
Counselor, you don't.
I have a question. You trying to persuade
I
Councilor
am not.
Johnson to change her mind, and it's not going to happen. I have a question.
I'm going to make the statement that I was going to make directed to Counselor Johnson while we were, Counselor Brooks and Counselor Johnson, talking about another meeting tomorrow about it. What was not mentioned, which is important to mention, that more than half of our budget is for 18 police officers, $4.1 million. You're talking about adding additional full-time officers.
We don't have
The
18
mayor-
officers now.
The
We don't
mayor,
have 18 officers.
please don't speak out, please.
We'd love to have 18 officers.
Excuse me.
We're talking about.
We're talking about,
the motion. We're talking
we're-
about, see, that's what I'm talking about.
and
We're talking
it's
about
important for the
See?
record, it is important for the record not to have the budget
No, I'm not
skewed.
gonna relax.
Exactly.
Because I have the same authority just
So,
like she has.
no, you
There's
don't.
7
You're not the
councilors up
chair.
there.
You
She's
are not the
going
chair.
in.
You are not the chair.
That's why we
Who am I?
You are not the chair.
You 1/7 of the vote, just like her,
Excuse me.
so it don't
Excuse
matter.
me. And I am in this chair, and I am in charge of this meeting.
No, but you
run the
wanna,
meeting,
you
you run the
wanna,
meeting, but
I am simply
you wanna
saying.
give a whole dissertation.
I'm
There's
not-
a motion
and I
on the floor,
can
and I
do-
have a question with respect to
And
the
I
motion.
can
We're
do a
not talking about
dissertation
18
as the
police
chair.
officers right
As
now.
the chair, ma'am.
There's a
And I don't
motion on the
disrespect
floor.
you.
Oh, you's a lie. You's a lie. That's why I don't have respect for you.
You have no respect for yourself, and
No,
you
I
don't
have
have to.
for you.
And I don't have any for you. And it's
Sharon
back to
Council
you. It's back to you,
Harris.
Miss.
There's a motion on the floor to table the budget as we now know it.
Before we do that, though.
Madam President, if we can move on.
Look, I don't know how this is, and Councilor Roquelaud needs to be able to ask her question. I don't know how this vote is gonna go, it's gonna turn out. But if it turns out that we table this, we need to have a plan in place.
Absolutely.
Because it's very obvious that we have to do this in a matter of days. So before we vote to table, part of this discussion should be, what happens if we do that? When are we coming back?
Tomorrow.
We have to come
It
back.
has to be.
We have to be advertised.
It has to come back regardless, because we have an FOP contract that needs to be voted on before the year is out.
When are we doing that?
So we want to do it, as I spoke to Madam President, I think it was after the Christmas holiday.
But before,
Before the.
We can do it after Christmas.
Yeah, that's fine.
And before the new year.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, but if you have any.
After Christmas is fine.
Absolutely, no, it's
The risk
it's
is being,
dangerous, but I
that
understand
if
why
someone
it's-
gets sick, if someone not able to be here, you're gonna have a situation where we will be in violation of state statute to pass this budget. We are required by law to pass this budget. In this discussion, we have had a Zoom meeting. Counselor, you were on the Zoom. You had questions for the finance
But
director
Madam
then.
President, I have
And
a
now
right to
here.
think, I have a right to
And you-
reconsider.
yes, you do.
I have a right, you know, I was here in 2014. I never raised taxes on anyone. I didn't want to do it to the residents. I find at this point in time, Yate needs some help. And I don't think residents are going to be upset that they may have to pay $13.17 extra. Well, I think that most of the people that I talk to would not have a problem. If they do, we have a fund here where we can help some people?
No.
Help me. Just talking about the fund. So if anybody really has a hardship, they can do a hardship letter and maybe we can help them.
Counselor, there are rules. There are rules. You can't just arbitrarily make decisions out here.
Which you love to break.
You have to speak with your solicitor.
We should have had
You have
the
to-
executive session as
We
opposed
had the session.
Well, listen, maybe we should take 5 minutes and go to executive session and where we can sit and have a conversation.
Well, let's recess. Recess. Counselor, I statement. You can make your.
Motion to
statement.
recess.
Counselor,
Well, you got
Leanna
a
Rose.
motion that's
I mean,
already on the floor, it's
she
just
wants to-
sitting out there.
Well,
Whatever.
it's the chair.
So here's the thing, and I agree with Councilor Johnson, because we are in a financial distress, it's imperative that, you know, if we raise the tax as little as possible.
Absolutely.
Because we are in financial despair.
Yes.
Despite how we got here, we're here. But in addition to, you know, thinking about even raising the taxes, we also need to cut some of the fat in this budget. Because there's a lot of fat in this budget, and we definitely can cut some of it back. So we can't just keep going back to the residents, but let's cut some of the fat as well. So at the end of the day, Councilor Beatty put the motion on the floor to table this. I second that. And when we reconvene to discuss this, we'll be able to discuss everything in totality with respect to cutting the fat and how much, if any, we need to raise the taxes.
Yes.
Very good.
Very good.
10-minute recess, please.
Sharon, there's 7.
Mr. Nichols, is here? He's right here.
I believe in confidence, right?
So you want to summarize what possible presentation about what the councilors have kind of included in the recess?
We have a motion to table on the floor.
We do.
Do.
There's been quite a bit of deliberation on the motion. Any other comments for the motion to table? Any others?
We are motioning to table the budget, correct?
Yes.
So the motion has been made and it has been seconded. At this point, I'd like to ask, Madam President, if you don't mind,
Call for the vote.
of calling the vote.
Yes. Those in favor to table, would you indicate by raising your hand?
We should be doing a roll call. I would like a roll call, please.
Roll call.
Ma'am, is that your pleasure, Madam President?
No.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
So you have to raise your hand. Thank you.
I asked for a roll call, please.
Yes,
It doesn't hurt.
yes. Ms. Brooks, is that, yes. Ms. Roquel, table, what's your pleasure?
A roll call.
Madam President has prerogative to call.
So the audience would know exactly who's voting for what.
That's the purpose of
And
a
it'll
roll
be in the
call.
minutes.
I mean, if you're gonna stand firm when you vote, then you should stand firm and letting people know this is how I'm voting. Solicitor, I'm asking for a roll call.
It's gonna be recorded in the minutes, everybody's gonna.
No, I asked for a roll call.
I know you did, well, that's the chair's prerogative.
Oh, really? It is now? Okay.
So-
Say no more, Boggs. Thank you.
So, Madam President, what is your, excuse me, I didn't see your raise your hand. Okay. And, I didn't see,
No to table.
okay. And, Counselor,
Yes.
4 yes, 2 no. The motion passes to table the, budget.
When is that date? We need a date. Do we know what that date is gonna be? We need a date.
I would ask Madam President to speak on the date.
Monday, I'm not gonna be
When
available.
when are we coming back to do the FOP?
Monday was good, exactly.
Same
We
day?
can do it tomorrow, like we said.
When is it?
Oh, gotta be advertised, sorry.
Okay, let's do the same day. And
Well,
then
no,
we can
What
have
day is
the,
that?
27th.
we can have the Zoom meeting Monday for counselors to ask Mr. Nichols any questions, and we can go through what we
What
discussed in
time
executive.
on Monday?
For
Well, wait a
the
minute.
Zoom meeting?
Everybody, see, that's
No,
what
it's
I'm
Tuesday.
saying.
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday, he said Tuesday.
Everybody is not everybody has to be in attendance, and that's not good for you. So what day is this?
That's right.
It's a
20.
special council meeting.
And Councilor Portis is saying everyone's not gonna be here.
Everyone is.
Because it's the holiday.
What happened?
People will be traveling, that's
We
the
said
problem.
after Christmas. What
But people might be
So
traveling.
it's after Christmas, give us an opportunity, Madam President, give her the opportunity to come up with a date and we will inform you in enough time. Is that fair enough?
Okay.
Would
Before
would y'all be
everybody.
available after Christmas? Any day but the 28th for me.
If you voted to table the budget, the council has no choice but to pass it before December 31st. So a special meeting has to be called before December 31st and properly advertised.
Madam President will tell us and tell me and we'll advertise and let you all know.
Can we do this prior to Christmas? I think it would help with people traveling.
Whatever. What day? What day? Can we agree on a date right now,
Can we
please?
say the 22nd maybe? Or the
22nd? Yeah, 22nd is good.
Well, okay, that's why I'm asking.
The latest I could go is Tuesday the 20th.
All right,
Okay.
I'm available Tuesday.
I'll be
Tuesday
available
the 20th,
Tuesday
that's
the
the
20th.
latest, and I'm pushing it
Okay.
And for in person, right?
in person.
Okay.
Okay.
Tuesday
To adopt the
20th.
budget, we're saying? Okay, so I have a meeting, a public meeting at 6 PM on Tuesday. I would do everything in my power to get that concluded. No, I can zoom in, but, no, but I'll do everything in my power because I am the board at that meeting to have that concluded by 6:30, to be here by 7.
Okay.
All right, so Tuesday, we're having a special meeting. You available?
Right, because we're going to do Zoom, we're going to conference, we're going to talk about it. And we're going to have the meeting. He can conference.
Yeah, I need to know that
We've already
too.
agreed what's going to happen once he talks to
You'll
us.
cut the fat, right?
No, you don't.
You'll cut the fat, right? That'll help us.
So
make
we're
this
gonna have
decision.
our Zoom meeting to discuss all that.
When?
So the Zoom is
When?
on
It's the
Tuesday.
Zoom.
So the Zoom is Monday, the special meeting is Tuesday.
What time on Monday? I'm gonna be at Longwood Gardens. In the evening.
I'm available all day Monday.
Evening works.
Okay, so.
Evening doesn't work for me. And what time?
Okay, what about the afternoon?
Excuse me, what time on Monday?
So we're looking at 2 o'clock.
That's fine,
2
thank you.
o'clock, 2
Okay.
o'clock Monday. We have to do our business 8:30 to 12 o'clock with our cell phone, whatever. We have to take care of that business. So we should be free.
So 2 o'clock
2
on
o'clock
Monday
on
for the
Monday.
Zoom. Okay, that's fine.
And Monday date is,
The 19th.
so the 19th, we'll be ready. The 19th at 2 o'clock.
And then the special council meeting.
Is be
We will
Tuesday the
determine-
20th.
We will determine
Yes.
that by way of Madam President. Oh, the 20th, thank you.
Monday the 19th and Tuesday the
The
20th.
20th, yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm
That's
gonna
in person. And the
Yep.
time again?
And what time on Tuesday, the 20th?
That's gonna be 6 o'clock?
Thank you, Madam President.
Oh, 6, okay. Who sent the Zoom information out? You, Hafiz?
6
Okay.
o'clock on Tuesday?
No, my last question is, in tax, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
is there a motion on the floor for tax levy?
You can,
Ben,
It's done. So that, so there's nothing to table?
you can pull it or table it.
So there is a motion.
Same, I'm sorry, Mr. Dodson, it would be letter, under finance letters A and C. If you table your budget,
Yes.
you need to also table your tax levy.
Absolutely.
and your, and the.
Okay, so there was a motion, I thought, on the floor to table the tax levy. Is that not true?
Motion to table the tax levy A, M, C.
No, it's a tax levy.
Just a motion to table the tax levy.
And you can have, I guess, Mr.
And the
Barber,
ARPA
need a
fund.
separate.
We can do both at the same time. We can do all. Absolutely.
All three, A through C.
A through
A
C.
through C should be.
Motion to table tax levy A through C. Do I get a second?
Agenda items, A through C.
Agenda items A through C.
Second.
A, F, B, F, C. 4A, 4B, 4C.
I have recorded that Ms. Counselor Beatty moved in that,
No, Counselor
Council roll call.
Johnson.
So that's, I would like to.
Johnson moved.
Johnson moved it, thank you. ma'am.
Beatty, second.
Thank you again. Madam President,
Okay,
at your discretion,
consideration.
would you like to call a motion? Call it.
Yeah, are there any questions with regards to the tabling of agenda items 4A, B, C? Are there any further questions? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor, would you indicate by raising your hand?
Cole Beatty approves. Leanna Roquette approves.
The motion carries. Consideration for accounts payable list for December. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Are there any questions?
I have questions. My first question, why are we subscribing for Zoom if we're not utilizing it?
Mr. Nichols, could you address the councilor, please?
So the borough still uses the Zoom account from time to time when we have outside meetings with vendors and things of that nature. Not as frequently as we were using it during COVID, but we do still use virtual. Like I just had a meeting with our insurance broker recently.
Oh, okay, so it's a matter of convenience.
I guess you can say that a new world.
But we can't do that for our residents?
That is the prerogative of this council.
Okay.
it's already being paid for, so.
Right. Since it's already being paid for with tax dollars,
Right.
why are we just making it convenient for the employees or representatives of the borough? Why can we not also make it convenient for our residents that are having hardships and cannot come to our legislative meetings or workshop meetings?
I agree.
That makes sense.
So that was my first question. I mean, I know you didn't have the answer, but I'm just making a statement there. My second concern is, and Mr. Pannoni, please do not take this, hard, but it looks like just for this month, we are paying $49,802.50 just for the engineering services. I believe not last month, but the month before, we paid something like $30+ thousand in engineering services. Now, I'm not taking away from the expertise of the services that we're receiving, but I must say, they're a little too expensive for us, especially since we're dealing with this financial debacle right now. So I think we really need to look at cutting the fat.
And Councilor, I will do an analysis to show Council, Mr. Pannoni, Mr.
Mercuso.
So you can help me with that, but there are some grants in which the engineer is written into for their costs that are reimbursable to the general fund that we can back out to show the actual tax dollar cost. So I will do that analysis and perhaps for you all when we get on Monday.
That'd be helpful. That'd be helpful. Also, mostly web. I see this is for website services. As you know, and I know, and many others, our website is not being managed properly. Right now, it looks like the dumpster. But it looks like we're paying mostly web $1,781.25 to do what? Because again, our website looks like the dumpster. So I'm just emphasizing, we're just paying people just so they can have some money in their pocket. And we should not be doing that. But we've been doing that all year. I see we have $4,500 allocated to Mr. Avery once again. So it looks like for the year, Mr. Avery, who I've never seen, never met, never spoke to, have no idea what he actually has done for the borough, but to date, he has received $54,000.
Ms. Lynch, you're blocking the camera.
Mr. Dotson,
No, ma'am, I'm telling
you're interrupting me though.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
$54,000 for a vendor who has not performed any work for this borough that I'm aware of. If he did anything, he did it for a few people. And that's not what our tax dollars are for. But again, $54,000. 54. Another thing I was looking at here. And I hate to be a stickler, but when it comes to money, it is what it is.
You're a good stewardess of our funds.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I try. It looks like we have a lot of refunds, and I've been seeing this throughout the year for the Borough Hall. But what I'm noticing is that some of these refunds are different. Some people get $500 refunds, and other people get $600, and I think $25 refund. So I'm a little confused with respect to that.
So the $500 security deposit is refundable, and you get the whole thing back if everything is in tip-top shape. We start deducting if, there's an issue that we have to charge for. If it was a $600, I know the one that was a $600, they actually gave an extra $100. That's why they got that additional $100 back.
Okay, all right. Because they gave extra.
Correct.
Why are we accepting extra?
That's something that I did address with the ladies at the contact.
Yeah, because that's concerning to me. Okay.
And it wasn't primarily, Counselor, was because of a money order, because we don't take cash, or we see that they aren't supposed to.
Why don't we have an event plan like we had previous?
That, when they brought those money orders, it was $100 over, that's why that situation happened.
Right.
So, they had to pay the balance, and it was $100 over.
Right. Okay. All right. So, I think that's it. That's it. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, are there any other questions? Hearing none, we're going to call for the vote. All in favor of the accounts payable list, which indicate by raising your hand. Those opposed?
Opposed. Road cloud opposed.
The motion carries. Consideration for the cash balance report for November. I'd like to have a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Are there any questions with regards to the cash balance report for November? Hearing none. All in favor, which indicate by raising your hand. Those opposed?
I oppose.
Beatty. Opposed.
Under new business, consideration, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. There was 5 to 1 for the cash balance.
42?
Let's roll.
No.
For cash balance, This is why I would.
That's why you should do a roll call.
Yes, I would-
Right.
I
Yeah,
would
but,
submit- I would submit that.
yeah.
Yeah, because I was
Common
confused.
sense, maybe.
No, who said, is it 4-2?
It's a 4-2.
Who said no?
Beatty and roll call.
Thank you, Ms. Beatty. Thank you very much.
Okay. Consideration for the council to allow the zoning hearing officer to make final decisions with regards to the restore appeal. It moved, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved, Council Jones second. Moved and properly second, are there any questions?
I have questions. Who's the council, that was, that we're asking to make the final decision? What's the person's name?
Do you have that information, Mr. Bowles?
Town Square, I forget his name at the moment, I'm so sorry. Mr. Dotson, do you remember?
No, sir.
I forget his name.
Are we voting to have this person? Right, we really should say his name.
No. I don't want to.
So what our special counsel, Mr. Ewald, has said, and it's not really, so all parties, all the lawyers, our zoning solicitor, our special solicitor, and Restore's attorneys, so all of the attorneys and the zoning board have come together and said that they all believe that a special hearing officer, neutral, away from everyone, should make the final decision. You can say no and force the zoning board, who has already indicated they don't want to make this decision, they want it to go to a special officer. You can force them to make the decision and be stuck with their decision. But the Restore's lawyers, our lawyers, and the zoning board have all asked council to please allow for this special officer that they've all selected together to make the final decision.
Thank you, Mr. Boggs. But my question was, what is this counselor's name?
I know, I forgot his name. He's a lawyer from Newtown Square. He has, he's on other zoning boards. I was not involved in that decision. That was our lawyers and the Restore's lawyers and the zoning board came together. I forget his name at this time, I'm sorry.
So, okay, so are we paying this special counsel? I mean, not the special counsel, this counsel.
He's taking the place of the zoning board.
Okay, are we paying him?
The zoning board, but yes, would pay him.
Right, the zoning board is gonna pay him. So
The
I would feel more comfortable having a name attached to this motion. That's all. I would just feel more comfortable having a name attached to this motion.
Let me text Mr. Ewald and I'll see if I can't get that right away.
I have a question as well on this.
Because I feel like if it's Joe Blow and Joe Blow isn't available, then he may pass it off to his partner to make the decision. So I feel more comfortable having a,
Okay, it's a specific lawyer. It's not a law firm. It's a specific lawyer. But I'm gonna hopefully Mr. Ewald will text me back right away.
So I have a question on this, Madam President.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
At the last zoning board hearing, the new solicitor, I heard him say that there is a provision in the zoning laws or whatever that they can have this, that they could vote as a zoning board to have the hearing represented by this individual. But I didn't hear anything that council has to approve that. Isn't that interfering with the independence of the zoning board?
No. Let me address
Isn't that how we got in trouble before?
Okay, Mayor,
Okay.
let me just give some clarification here. The zoning hearing board made the selection based on a state statute that they have the power to do that. They have the power because they were sued individually by the dispensary. And so they elected to select an independent solicitor. And for the correction, this council not only pays under the agreement and under the commission for this zoning hearing board, we pay their solicitors and we pay the additional solicitor that's the independent solicitor to render decision. What Mr. Ewald explained at our last meeting was that not only do the independent solicitor or independent lawyer here who is going to review all of the evidence from the dispensary and all of the evidence presented by the appeal, the original appeal, whatever decision that gentleman makes will be a final decision. However, the right to appeal still lies both with this council or the dispensary to a higher court. They have the right of due process of right to appeal. But at this moment, what this council has to do is approve this zoning hearing officer as selected by the zoning hearing board, by their solicitors, and by their vote. This is required, and it's required to pass today.
I'm requiring a name.
I'm trying.
Okay. Just vote to pay for him.
We need a name.
Mr. Nichols, the name, we can do this on a conditional basis. We can vote to pass this. It has to be done before a certain date here in December in order for this to proceed, in order for this hearing to proceed. So to add the name to this, of the solicitor, I would concur with Councilor Roadcloud to have his name here, but we can approve this contingent upon the name being added.
Richard Sikora.
Thank you. Can you spell the last name, please?
Yeah.
Spell the last name.
I think he said it to me like phonetically. So
Yeah, I'm,
C-O-R-A. Okay.
and this is the last thing I'll say about it. I'm not a lawyer, but it just seems, I mean, we pay the library board, but they have their own board that we don't interfere. We appoint, what's that?
The library board gets no money.
Yeah, but we don't vote. Council doesn't vote on what you do, right?
There's no money
Okay.
involved. Library board.
The Civil Service Commission, we paid for the test, but council doesn't, we approve the officers once they're submitted to the council. We pay all the attorneys, the zoning board attorneys, the main solicitor, we pay all that, but it just seems to me that this interferes with the independence of unless I'm corrected, I'm mistaken by the law, but it seems like it interferes with the independence of the independent zoning board where they wait a minute. And I could be wrong, I concede that, but the attorney said that their provision is for them, the zoning board, is to choose an attorney or representative to represent the whole board independent of what I'm just concerned that we overstep, that's what my concern is.
Why are we involved?
Mr. Dodson, please.
Mr. Mayor, that's a good point. I think that the reason why we're going down this route is because the members of the zoning board are in litigation and they are being sued individually. And so therefore, there's a special master, you might say, who's handling this, because they can't participate, they won't participate. And that's why he's sitting in that particular
You only vote to pay him.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
Your only responsibility is paying for this hearing officer that the zoning board appointed. That's council's only role here is to pay him. And you never even voted to pay for Greg Leniak.
That is not correct.
So I don't know why you think you're involved here.
That is not correct.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So, ma'am, there's a motion on the floor.
Yeah, the motion, all in favor, would you indicate by raising your hand?
The motion
is to approve the final decision of the hearing officer. Those opposed?
Opposed, Roadcloud opposed.
Okay, 4-2, the motion carries. Consideration for adopting resolution number 2022-009 to implement Act 57 of the 2022, Act 57 of 2022. Would you like to elaborate?
What is that?
That's the ordinance that I sent around at the workshop meeting. That's we don't have a lot of choice here. We don't have any choice. The state level has passed a law directing boroughs and townships to change their code to allow for this process that's spelled out in the ordinance that I gave you at the workshop meeting, where if someone does not receive notice of their taxes, that there's a procedure now that they can, if they present certain documents to the county, that they don't have to pay a delinquency. And that was passed by Harrisburg. Harrisburg believes that that's the best thing for Pennsylvania residents, that there's been enough problems with people with, I guess, with the mail or without getting notice, that there is, it's not automatic, but if you claim that you didn't get notice and now you're in delinquency, there's a pathway now to get out of that without having to pay delinquency. But whether we like that or not, we're being directed by the state.
So moved. Is there a second?
No, wait, you so moved, Ms. Johnson. Second by, thank you, Ms.
Ms. Brooks. It's been moved and properly second. Are there any further questions? Any further questions? Hearing none. All in favor, would you indicate by raising your hand?
Cole Beatty approves.
Thank you, Ms. Booth.
Road Cloud approved.
Thank you, Ms.
The
Booth.
vote is unanimous. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Consideration for the minutes, approval of minutes for October 3rd, 2022. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions?
Yes, I have a correction for October 3rd, page 5. She put October 10th for Veterans Day. It should be November.
Duly noted.
I'm sorry.
Duly noted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Madam President,
Okay, yes.
on the minutes, there's one motion that
I was going individual.
hold it, give me a second.
Okay. In case there are corrections.
Huh? I did the
Okay.
correction.
Okay, then we're going
But what
to,
I'm gonna do is mark six
for the
A,
minutes,
each page,
So-
6A, B, C.
got it. Okay, so for A,
So
you
6A.
have that one correction. for
6A, one correction.
Yes. October 13, 2022, special meeting minutes. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions?
You just print them out for the public.
Is there any?
So it's a motion
To accept, yes, a motion to accept the minutes of A through F. Any corrections?
Correction, October 27th,
So they make me vote.
page 2.
What's the correction, Council?
The code, Public Works and Recreation meetings will be held on the Wednesday right before the Legislative Council meeting.
Yeah, we said that.
Okay, but she has Tuesday.
Oh, wow, okay.
She had to make that change on the website.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. For November 7th, workshop meeting minutes.
Hold on one second. C. Okay. We want a motion on all that.
Yes. Okay, for November 10th, special meeting. Any corrections, deletions, or
Did we do November 7th?
additions?
We didn't even do November 7th.
November 7th?
We didn't just said 7.
No.
Councilman, okay.
We didn't vote.
D6.
All right. Any corrections for November 7th? Hearing none. November 10th? Special meeting. November 16th? Legislative minutes. Hearing none. All in favor to approve the minutes, A through F, which indicate by raising your hand. Those opposed?
Roll cloud opposed.
You opposed to this speech?
Yep.
May I ask, Madam President, who made the motion for the minutes to be approved?
Yeah, who made the motion?
And who
What I
seconded?
did.
And who
It
seconded?
was
Yeah, you did.
Ms. Brooks, Council Brooks second.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for the manager's report, Mr. Dodson, you want to call for
Yes,
for
ma'am.
these?
One little second. All right. Madam Councilors, I would like to ask for a motion for consideration of adopting the 2023 Yaden Borough Recognized Holiday Schedule, please.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and properly second. Are there any questions with regards to consideration for adopting the 2023 Edinburgh Recognized Holiday Schedule?
I have a question. So, according to this little chart here, the little pink chart, in the box that says observed by borough, where, for instance, Valentine's Day, not observed. So we're not going to observe that, right? So you included dates that we don't want to observe. I thought you would have just included dates that we do want to observe because this is confusing.
I just saw this in the packet. What you have in your packet is information for the borough calendar that goes out to residents. You should not have gotten that. The borough holidays are identical to the resolution that council passed and adopted over the last few years, so they're the same holidays.
And they're indicated by codes.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols.
Okay, motion, all in favor, which indicate by raising your hand. All right, those opposed?
Do you want clarification, Council?
I'm good. I'm good.
You're good?
Yes.
Okay. Was it unanimous?
No, I oppose. I have some issues. I have an issue there. No, I oppose.
The motion passed.
Oh, yes, the motion carries.
7B.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. 7B, consideration for advertisement of the 2023 public meeting schedule for the Yaden Borough Council.
So moved. Is there a
Second.
second? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Are there any questions?
Question, yes. So my question is, August and July legislative meetings, we didn't have legislative meetings in August and July before, so why are we changing that?
Yeah, we have legislative meetings. We don't have the workshop.
Oh, was it the workshop?
Yes, the workshop is.
I'm sorry, so I stand corrected. So we are going to just have the legislative meeting and not the workshop?
12 months, 12 meetings, 12 months, yes. For the work
Okay.
of the-
We take two
All right.
off. We take two off for the summer.
Mhm.
I just mixed up, so it was the workshop we didn't have. Okay, that was my only question, thank you.
It has been moved in second.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
I have a question. How come some of these workshop meetings are on Mondays and some are on Tuesdays?
So they're
It's a holiday.
meaning Monday's a holiday. So I know like Labor Day, for example, will come that Tuesday versus that Monday because of the holiday.
Okay.
Why not just have them all on Tuesday?
Yeah, I mentioned that when we
Easier
first,
Last year?
yeah, I mentioned that when we first changed it to Monday, that it would be problems some Mondays.
I also want to amend this, on these particular days, we'll probably change the format for 2023 from being, to revert back to having the department heads, as Mr. Vercuso is here, we'll have the department heads make their presentation at the legislative meeting opposed to the workshop meeting, and have them available at the workshop meeting to engage residents on their specific questions and answers, kind of in a table by table type of arrangement. So with that modification, for those to be added to that selection. So all in favor would you indicate by raising your hand. Those opposed?
I oppose.
Okay, now for the consideration for approval of the collective bargaining agreement between the Borough of Dayton and the SEIUL 32BJ union. May I have
So
a
that
motion?
is, oh.
And then we'll have you. So moved. Okay, second, I second. It's been moved and properly second. Are there any questions? Any questions?
Yeah, what is it? That's my question.
It's the public works agreement. Their agreement expires on 12/31 of this month. So this is the borough entering into a 3-year agreement with our public works employees. The total cost over 3 years for this agreement is $109,046 over all 3 years. The proposed contract from Public Works was $217,638, so we were able to get it down to that 109.
Okay, thank you.
And give her the percentage per year for the contract.
It's a 4, 3.5, 3%.
I have a question. Who sat at the table?
For the Public Works agreement?
Yes.
A state mediator, myself, Mr. Dotson, a union rep from the shop store, and a union rep from the larger union.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor would you indicate by raising your hand? Those opposed?
I agree.
Ms. Johnson? Ms. Beebe?
Yes.
It's unanimous, thank you, lady. Councilors, excuse me.
The following motions are presented by our borough engineer, Mr. Vercuso. Mr. Vercuso, would you like to take the stand and call the podium ready?
They must say, "Tom, stand, we in court." Now we in court. You promise to tell the whole truth?
Stand.
Okay, so the first item is all 3 of your maintenance contracts, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, I reported this at the work session, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and paving contracts expire. These contracts are only used in the event of emergencies or emergency repair work. The bids were taken. The low bidder for both the sanitary project and for the storm sewer project was Moore Construction out of Glen Mills. And the low bidder for the paving work was Dayton, who has the current contract. So I have spoken with, Mike Pizzolo, went over this with him. And again, I can't stand there and say what the amount will be, because these amounts are only invoked in the event that you have sewer work that has to be done on an emergency basis. And this obligates them to use this contract. It's a 3-year contract with the option on both the borough side and the contractor side to opt out after 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. So we would need a motion to approve this request. And for the record, we have worked, our office has worked with Moore on many of these projects. They have similar contracts in many municipalities. They have a similar contract with Chester Water Authority, so they're well versed in doing this type of work.
And you said we do have the option to opt out after 1 year.
You do.
Now you're asking for a motion from.
Yes,
from-
and I move.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, I-
Second.
so
All
moved.
individually, all.
Second.
No, we're gonna go into this. Together. Is there a second?
Second.
Who motion?
Me, Sharon, motion.
Thank you. And then,
Is there, are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, Jim?
I have questions. My question, okay, so you said we don't know what the costs are, right?
Yeah, they're individual line items. So for example, let me just give you a for example. Sanitary sewer maintenance contract. If there is if we need to replace a manhole, 4-foot diameter manhole, then the cost to do that is $3,500 to do that manhole.
Okay. Oh, that's what's in the contract?
That's what's in the contract, right?
Oh, okay. So, see, the problem is, I don't know what's in the contract. You know what's in the contract. Maybe some individuals up here know what's in the contract, but I don't know what's in the contract. So it's like, how do we vote on something that we don't know?
Well, I mean, we took the bids, we sent the bid tabs to the borough. They are available. We use a system called PenBid. All the bidding is done online. You know, it's a system where you take the bids online. The contractors are very familiar with it. They bid online. They can see all the documents. You know, they're very public. And you know, that's the. I don't know what to say beyond that, other than you know, these were the low bidders for the individual line items.
Right, yeah. No, I see something in our email, which was actually sent to me this evening at 4:24. So it didn't give me much time to really look at it and, you know, take it in, so, okay.
Are you speaking about this right here? That's behind your,
Yes.
It's behind
The Pinoni, Court.
Yeah, there's 3 letters from me recommending awarding to both Moore for the sanitary.
Yeah, they're all on the second page.
Whatever happened to having the packet the week in advance? Sharon said she was gonna make sure that happened all the way back in the spring when,
I had mine in advance. That's why I know what's here.
Delivered when they're
Night in
available,
advance?
yes.
The night
No,
before.
there's no
I had it
week
in advance, and that's why I had time to go over it, and that's why I know what's here.
The day of the meeting.
The night before is not advanced, especially when you see how much paperwork we have in front of us. This is not in advance.
Councilors have work.
Yes,
They go
we
to
do.
work in the morning. They're not at home all day like you, Sharon.
Nope.
I know, I'm not home all day.
Mr.
So you
Vic,
may continue.
Was that, was that?
So the vote, so we're calling for the vote, all in favor?
So
Indicate by
moved.
raising your hand. No, the vote is already.
I thought we did.
Councilman Brooks, are you in favor? Okay. Those opposed?
I oppose.
The motion carries.
did you, Ms. Beatty, how did you vote? Ms. Beatty?
Councilors.
You? Okay, I didn't know.
And then also under the report are items B through H, and these are a series of exactly what we just talked about, right? These are prices from the, that we've been sort of carrying on this report for several months. This is work under your old contract that Darnell will still finish up. And again, all of these numbers were derived by using the maintenance contract that you had in place that will expire on December 31st. So these are repairs that have been recommended by Public Works to get done at various locations within the borough. They're all storm sewer projects.
Okay, so moved. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and properly second. Are there any other questions? She moved, I second.
Thank you.
I have a question. For B, we spoke about that. Is that what we spoke at the workshop meeting? Do you still need that easement to do B?
Yes, and we obviously, per our discussion, Mr. Boggs, we will not do item B.
Perfect.
We have that.
Okay. This should be talked about in an executive session, but the owner of Hereford Place, who has come in and given a presentation before, he was talking about tax abatements and certain things because there's alleged damage on his property. Through his lawyer, he's made a proposal. Right. So, but what is okay for here is they made, I guess, a proposal that they wouldn't sign the easement unless that was met. I have spoke to the engineer about that, but I do need to brief counsel on that. I don't think that project can go forward until there's a lot that needs to be resolved from their end.
And it would be, again, the idea was to approve this tonight, but that project can't move.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So thank you, Mr. Barr. Okay, any other questions?
I have a question.
I think B has to be tabled.
That's my question.
I'm okay with the way he's saying, because when he gets your approval, that's checking one box. We can't do that project until there's an easement. I've written the easement, it's been given to the lawyer and to the homeowner. They refuse to sign at the moment.
So we do not need to table.
You do not need to take it.
Just make
I do need to talk to you
emphasis
about it in
on
executive
B.
session, but you can give the engineer approval for the project, knowing that it will not go forward until we have the easement signed by the other party.
With the exception of B.
No.
B's the only one. B's the only one that I know of that has any kind of contingency.
All the other work on the street is within public right of way, except for that project.
So how is the motion?
The motion.
Is it with or without B?
It's with B. It's with B. We want to check that box, and that box can stay checked until we come to an agreement on the easement.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. So, Mr. Boggs, you said you could discuss this in executive?
It's legal matters.
Right, yeah, so it just further proves my point that if we're getting information and we're not even getting all of the information, we don't know what's going on, and we're being asked to vote on it. I know I'm being asked to vote on it, and I don't know anything that's going on. That's number one. Number two, you see these figures here. We have a lot of infrastructure damage that needs to be repaired. That further proves my point that those ARPA monies should go to our infrastructure. A bulk should go to the infrastructure, not revenue replacement.
Agreed. You may continue, sir.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to just indicate two things. Number one, the borough had received a number of grants for work in the community park this year. Those were grants required, and again, I've been through this with Mr. Dodson and I provided a spreadsheet to Mr. Nichols for next year for the budget. That particular project required borough match. We were notified this week that the borough was awarded a Delco Greenway grant in the amount of $172,000. So that will take away almost 100% of the borough match, freeing up those funds for your budget for next year, where you would have had to make the match on the borough side.
Very nice.
I do want to address Councilwoman Gropal's questions earlier about, I understand about, the bills. You have a number of, speaking back to grants, and I think Mr. Nichols said he would provide this information, but you had a $200,000 grant to do work on Cypress Avenue from 2021 that never got implemented. You have a $230,000 grant, a CDBG grant for work on Duff Avenue that never got implemented. You have almost $1 million grant for West Cobb Street Parkway that will work. So we're working on these projects actively, which is why, the bills, and as Mr. Nichols said, these are grants and there is reimbursement for, if there's not, in some of the grants there's reimbursement for engineering funds and some there's not. But you can't, we intended, for example, to put the Cypress Street sanitary sewer project out to bid in January with the understanding that project will not be done because it's in front of the school, we've got to close down the street. That project will not be done until school's closed in June. But that's the stuff that we're working on there. These are very large public works projects that require surveying and engineering and that's the kind of stuff.
And that's what we hired you for.
Yeah.
That's what we brought you on board for.
If we
Sir.
had grants for this, why weren't they implemented?
He's telling you that they're on a schedule.
Working on that.
They're on a schedule.
Oh,
But are you saying that they were in the process before and was never, I'm not talking about what you're doing now. Are
The
you saying?
2021 grant was awarded by the county. So these are CDBG monies that came out. That grant was probably announced the year before last, but it never got implemented. And the county has been pressuring us to get these CDBG, because now they're 2 years old in the county system. So the county wants them out of the system. So right now we're working on the 2021 project and the 2022 project.
Why weren't they implemented?
You have to ask your former engineer.
So that's nice, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm paying for all of that money.
So, but I have a question for you. So, yeah, that's nice.
We haven't
So, is it that we actually have these monies in hand?
So with some of these, the answer is no, because you have to, in a lot of these grants, like for example, let's stick with Cypress Street, right? It's county money, and you have to literally do the work, pay the contractor, get reimbursed. So some of these funds allow us to, now going down to one go, like the community park, some of those funds we can ask for in advance. And again, working with Mr. Nichols and Mr. Dobson on those types of things. So some of them require you to expend the money to get reimbursed, but you have to show, you literally have to show canceled checks and those types of things.
Okay, so in essence, we have to pay someone to do the work for and just get reimbursed for it. So would that also be true for the West Cobb Street Parkway, the $1 million grant?
So the $1 million grant, the borough can get some of those funds in advance. But again, so right now, the only thing that you're spending money on is engineering. We've had surveyors out there for a couple of weeks getting survey information. Once those bills are paid, canceled checks are back to the borough, then those funds can be reimbursed.
So we have to put the monies out first?
Correct.
Yeah, sometimes.
In some cases.
Right.
In the new grant that we talked about, they allow for you to, so if you're a match, you're allowed to apply for 25% of it up front. So there's some grants allow you to do it, some grants don't.
So your company actually applied for a grant for, I think it was it for the recreation, a feasibility study or something, or some kind of survey? You did 2 surveys for us, correct?
Did a survey of this building and a feasibility study for the community park. Neither of those were grant related.
The survey study for community park, for the rec center, right?
No, that's not correct. You did a feasibility study for the park and an assessment on the building.
Right. Assessment of this
Thanks,
building.
Mr. Dodson.
You're welcome.
Mr. Basuso, okay. So here's my question. The study that you did for the recreation center for community park, I thought you also did one for the Yaten Swim Club as well.
No.
No, okay, well, okay, so you performed that study for us. There was a grant that you applied for as well, $1 million grant or something for the rec.
Local shares grant.
Right, and what's the status of that grant?
What we have been told, because again, we have these local share grants out from a number of communities. What we have been told, that was applied for it was applied for on 3/15.
Okay.
And what we have been told is that the local share grants will not be announced until sometime early spring next year.
Okay.
That's what we've been told.
That's what we've been told.
Our office.
Your office. So we don't know whether or not we are gonna be granted or denied that those
According to the
monies?
information we have, and again, not just for Yaden, but for all the communities that we apply for local shares. grant.
Is that grant a matching grant?
That grant is not a magic grant.
It's not a matching grant. So we do not have to have a set amount of monies.
That grant was put in with the idea that the borough would, in some way, shape, or form, have to raise the additional funds. Right. It
Okay.
doesn't obligate the borough to either accept the grant or take the grant and have the additional funds. But it was applied for on the basis that the borough would look for ways to supplement that grant with other funds.
So they would actually, hypothetically, they will actually give us the grant, right? Approve us for the grant. But we would have to show that we will be able to raise whatever the additional funds are to be able to actually fulfill this project, correct?
I don't know for sure how they would award it, but that, I would expect that they would put some string on it that would say that, we're gonna give you $1 million when you show us that you're gonna be able to raise it.
Right, okay.
And there are other grants.
Okay.
that- And Ms. Vacuso, there are other grants.
We're looking for other grants.
And what's important, as important as Mr. Vacuso's work, is that you have a grant department and you work up and down the eastern seashore with
We do
several.
grants. Yeah,
Yes,
we
you
do grants for every one of our offices from
And I
here
must
to
have sent you 5 of
To
them.
Florida.
But again, I think that Yaden is very fortunate. They've been fortunate in terms of the number of grants that have been awarded. Like for example, the one that I just mentioned, the Delco Greenway grant for that $172,000. I think if you look at the awards that were given on that, there were only 3 or 4 communities in Delaware County that got those grants. We got a small one for Aspen Township for a trail study for $42,000, but the $172,000 that Yaden got was a pretty good amount.
Yeah.
Compared to the.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
a majority of these grants relate to engineering, sewer, infrastructure, things of that nature.
Right.
But not grants like grants for the police department or.
Yeah, we don't do those.
You don't do that, right? We would do that, right? Okay. But the $1 million share grant, we still waiting for a decision.
That's what we've been told.
That's what you've been told.
Early spring is what we've been told next year, even though, again, those grants been put in. The granting world is, there's all different pots of money in the state in various departments, and they all work independent of each other. And,
It is what it
it
is.
is what it is.
Just, ma'am, can I ask a question?
Yes, yes, sir.
Just, I want you, if you don't mind, Mr. Vacuso, just to elaborate real quick on Chester Avenue and McDade Boulevard, one of the worst streets that we have in Yaden. And for clarification, the issue wasn't that we missed out on 100,000. The issue is a permit that was not issued in enough time to take advantage of that money. Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, are we talking about the pavement work?
Yes.
Yeah, we wanted to use liquid fuels monies for that, but sort of the time ran out at the end of the year because that's a PennDOT pot of money that the borough gets. All municipalities get is based on the gas tax that we all pay when we fill our tanks up. And you have to, PennDOT requires that work to be done before like November 15th. So it's not like you don't lose the money, it's liquid fuels money that it rolls to next year, and that'll be one of the first projects that we do.
So we're looking for spring to start that project.
And again, I just want to mention, I mentioned earlier about the fact that Damon won the paving contract, but we would not use that contract to get that work done. The borough has quite a few streets, speed humps, things that it wants to get, and I think that the borough will make out better financially if we put that out to another public bid. Because the numbers that Damon would have bid for this project are this kind of emergency work. You call them up in the middle of the night, they got to get out here and fix a street because the water main broke or something like that. And those numbers tend to be high, so I think we can do much better financially if we just put a bid out specifically for pavement. Maybe that AF Damon wins, it probably will. They win a lot of work in the county, but I think we'll get much better numbers by putting the public bid out.
So, Mr. Viscuso, I'm sorry.
Viscuso.
Viscuso. I'm just a little confused.
I went to the doctor's today. She told me it was a very sweet name. First time anybody ever told me.
with respect to Chester Avenue and the West Cops Creek, I remember distinctively you telling me that it was absolutely going to be done before the end of this year.
Right.
So we missed out on what?
The problem, and you're absolutely right, I did say that.
Yeah, you did.
I stand by that. The problem was that, you know, we just didn't get the project into PennDOT in time. We were waiting for, Damon was telling us that he was very busy in other works for Everett County. He was saying that he was going to get to it by the end of October. Then he wasn't ready to get it done.
Right.
And again, because we were using this maintenance contract, we didn't have time to bid. We were using the old maintenance contract. We were obligated to go with him. It's not that we could, so we just got behind the 8 ball. And so we just have to put it off to the spring.
Right, and I'm glad you said that because in one of these contracts for the consideration of awarding, Damon is one of the vendors. So if we had an issue, and that's a pretty big issue because we've been waiting, I don't know how many years to have that done.
25.
You know, but here we are saying, okay, he messed up on that, but we still want to give him a play on this.
He was the only bidder for this, and again, this is, I just want to reiterate, this is for emergency work, but we're not going to do that contract. It's going to be the first contract that we do in the spring, the paving contract has got a number of areas that need to be paved. We're going to put it out on a separate bid. I think we'll get much better numbers, not use this contract to do that, but we have him under contract now. In the event, as I just said, if you know, we have a catastrophe, a water main breaks, he's got to come out and fix a road. We've got a contractor in place, under contract, to be able to do that.
Okay, we're gonna, Mr. Kuso, we want to finish this motion so that we can move on with the agenda. It's 9:09.
I'm finished. I think
You're
we're
done.
done.
Okay, so did we?
Yes.
So we'll call for the vote.
But are we making a vote?
You're making it from
For
A,
from
A
A to.
A to H. A to H.
We did it.
Yes, we did A.
So
So
this-
it's B to H. B to H, yes.
And the move, you're still moving it, and it's still second by Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
all in favor would you indicate by raising your hand? Those opposed?
I oppose.
Thank you very much.
The motion carries.
Ms. Beaver.
That's it.
Excuse-
You're done. Thank you.
Madam President.
Wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Thanks, same to you. Madam President, can I just make a
Yes, comment.
I just want to, Councilor Roadcloud, I just want to commend you on your questions and your comments that you asked. I can hear you very clearly tonight. And the other nights at meetings, I can't hear, it's too much commotion going on. I think this was a good meeting. Wasn't perfect, but it was good. So I hear what you're saying and I respect what you're saying. I can hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
I can hear it.
I don't care if you hear me. How about that?
Okay, the first item is a memorandum of understanding between the Upper Darby Township Police Department and the Yadinboro Police Department. That memorandum of understanding, I believe, was completed yesterday with Mr. Boggs and the...
Have it ready to be signed by you, yourself and the mayor, and then we'll send it over to Upper Darby immediately.
Okay. You want to just elaborate a little bit on that, sir?
So the agreement is, the financial agreement is $25 an hour to house our prisoners there. Upper Darby already passed, they had a meeting before us, they already passed this through their council, according to their solicitor. They also required that we pass around their policies and procedures for holding cells and transportation. I wrote an affidavit. We had every one of our Yadin officers review their policies and procedures, sign the affidavit saying that they read them, they understood them, they would follow them. So the last thing that we have is for council to approve this memorandum of understanding. I hope you all, I brought some in case you didn't. I hope it was sent out when I sent it out. If not, I can pass it around. But mainly, the main thing is that our officers have already reviewed the policies, and it's $25 an hour, and this will be, I'll actually leave to the mayor to say when this would run out. It's in his report, so I'll defer to him for that. Absolutely, that's it.
Okay. All right. Consideration for ratifying spending payments for parking meters.
You have to vote.
You gotta vote on it. My goodness, moving too fast. Okay, yes, I call for the vote.
I have questions.
You have a question? You have questions?
Did we make the motion?
I said so moved.
What happened to the, what happened to the motion?
Second.
Who? Wait.
Moved and properly second.
Thank you, Ms.
She
Lee.
moved,
Thank
she
you.
seconded. Are there any questions?
I have questions. So, the MOU that I'm looking at, I don't understand it. It seems that it's a little confusing here. It says cost. Yaden Borough agrees to pay Upper Darby Township a rate of $25 per day.
No, I don't know where per day came from.
I thought it was
It's always
called
been my understanding with their solicitor,
What?
their superintendent, our lieutenant, that it was $25 an
Right,
hour,
how-
which was actually significantly less than what our arrangement was with Darby Borough. It was $150.
Wow.
What I'm looking at
Yes, ma'am.
right now, that you're asking our votes for, it says, Yaden Borough agrees to pay Upper Darby Township a rate of $25 per day. So if you're asking me to vote on this, and you're telling me this is incorrect, then that means we need to get the corrected version so we know exactly what we're voting on.
There was a prior typo version that said 25 hours a day. This one is the corrected version. It says 25,000 hours.
I have not read the corrected version.
This is 25,000 hours.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One we were saying, you said, is that your corrected version?
Yeah.
If you're asking us to vote on something, we should be voting on exactly what it's supposed to be.
No, it's 3 pages.
No, I'm asking if you have copies for us.
Absolutely. I have 10 copies. You can pass them all around. They're 3 pages.
No, it's only.
This is your,
That's three pages. Oh, same. It was like that?
And the thing is that we can't, I don't want to postpone this because we're in jeopardy if we keep pushing that down the road, because we can't, everybody knows the situation. I'm not going to rehash that, but we can't hold prisoners right now until all these things are fixed. So if we, and Upper Darby has been nice enough to, we've had one prisoner where they held for us, and it's going to be retroactive, where it would pay them once this, contingent upon this is, the motion passes. But if we kick this can down the road, we continue to be in
But,
jeopardy.
and I'm not trying to postpone anything, but I need to make sure.
$25 an hour, and this
But
document.
again, it's still not clear.
It is clear.
says, Mayor, it says, Yaden Borough agrees to pay Upper Darby Township a rate of $25 per hour. So what are we saying, $25 per hour that the prisoner is in their care?
Yes.
Or $25 per hour, 24 hours every day for whenever?
To the,
person?
Right.
per-
So that needs to be clear.
it is clear.
Where?
It's 25,000 now per prisoner from,
It's not in here. And if you sign this agreement, this is what you're gonna get. So you wanna be very clear in your agreement. It's $25
the
per
solicitor.
hour
the
per
two
prisoner.
solicitors drew that up, so you'd have to talk to, if it's
So
not
we-
clear for council, you'd have to ask the
For the
solicitor.
benefit, excuse me.
You'd have to ask the solicitor.
Okay, for the benefit of the public here, the memorandum of understanding between Upper Darby Township Police Department and Yaden Borough Police Department. Introduction, parties. They met. The enforcement authorities agree to follow the policies and procedures contained in this memorandum of understanding, hereinafter called the memorandum. The memorandum establishes procedures to be followed when Yaden Police Department requests the Upper Darby Police Department to house prisoners in the police department cells. The purpose of this memorandum is to establish procedures to secure individuals who are under arrest and to maintain the safety and the protection of the individuals, the officers, and the public. The parties seek to foster a relationship of cooperation and mutual support to maintain a safe environment. The term of this memorandum of understanding will commence on the effective date executed and shall continue unless and until either the Upper Darby Police Department or the Yeadon Police Department, in their sole discretion, advises in writing that this memorandum of understanding is terminated. Termination shall be effective as of the date of the written notice of termination. The cost: Yeadon Borough agrees to pay Upper Darby Township a rate of $25 per hour relating to this use of their facility. Yeadon Borough also agrees to provide proof of insurance upon request. Policy and procedures: the Yeadon Borough Police Department agrees to adhere to follow the Upper Darby Police Department's policy and procedures for cell administration. Attached is Exhibit A. Signed for the signature, requiring the signature of the Mayor of Upper Darby, Mayor Kiefer, Mayor Hepkins, Upper Darby Township, the manager, Mr. Dodson, or my signature as president.
So the motion should stipulate that Yeadon Borough agrees to pay Upper Darby Township a rate of $25 per hour per prisoner in their custody.
That is correct.
So moved.
Because it's not safe here. Is that why?
No, it's because the restrictions on our cell, because there are other modifications and several other things that are going on.
So nobody have nothing to say about that monies? Nobody have nothing to say about that monies? I'm just asking.
What you mean?
Well, that's why we question. $25.
This shouldn't be an argument. I think it's clear enough.
You saying, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, you're saying it shouldn't be an argument. There's a whole lot of things that shouldn't be an argument, that is an argument. So please, I'm not gonna disrespect.
No,
your
I'm not talking
So
about you.
what I'm saying.
I'm not talking about what you're saying.
What I'm saying, we talking about cutting the fat, we bringing more fat back. $25 per, what did you?
Per hour, per person.
Per person, per hour.
person. And because we're not safe here, I'm just asking the question, and I'm gonna leave that right there.
Yeah, until they do what they need to do here.
Need more than that. I'm gonna, why?
It's okay, we don't have enough officers to arrest people
Okay,
anyway.
no, we do. We do have officers. We do have officers.
Yeah, the motion.
We just don't see them working.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
gonna leave that right there.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out
Yeah,
for the record.
okay. All right,
At
thank
this
you,
point,
thank
we
you,
have
Councilor.
nowhere for them to go, so we
I
have to.
understand.
Thank you, Councilor. All right, it's been moved in proper second, yes. I'm going to call for the vote if there are no further questions. Hearing none, all indicate, all in favor, which indicate by raising your hand.
I'm gonna vote for it, but I don't agree.
Okay. Those opposed, those opposed,
Yeah, that's the problem, yeah.
those opposed, which indicate,
I oppose.
okay, the motion carries.
Mr. Boggs, is this going to be corrected? Because,
If you want to vote to have that amended, to add that sentence, I will absolutely add that
I
sentence.
mean, you should absolutely
should
have it. It should have been.
I added it in the motion.
What to do.
I stipulated it in the motion, so it's there. I did stipulate.
Directly over here, right?
It's, I read it.
It's clear to me.
No, you didn't
It's a
read.
matter of semantics. It's clear to me. It's $25 an hour per prisoner, as long as that prisoner's
But if
there
you're
for
going to
that
sign a
duration.
contract, you have to have the language
It's clear
in
to me.
there.
But if you want it more clearer, we said it's
Yeah, I need it crystal.
it's a matter of the,
Make that addition.
it's a,
Or the CIO and get them on the phone.
No, no,
It still
no.
needs to be reflected in the contract.
Okay,
This
the
is a
motion,
contract.
the motion,
If you want to sign a contract, you want to have the information.
it's clear, It's clear to me.
motion carries.
Very clear.
Thank you.
The
Thank
motion
you.
carries.
Solicitor's report.
If you're going to do something, do it right. It is 9:30, almost.
He said he's gonna make the correction.
I don't know if it's a correction, but he can make it clearer if it needs. It's clear to me, and the understanding is as
We're
it
the
were.
ones that gotta vote on this stuff, Mayor, so it
I
gotta be
understand
clear
that.
to us.
I understand that. I explained to you what it means, yeah.
Okay.
Last time I checked, we the ones voting for this stuff, right? So I don't know why in all this discussion, we're voting. So if it's not clear to us, we're not gonna vote for it, as long as we know that.
It's a matter of the solicitors to do it, and he's going to do that.
That's our
Mr.
problem,
Boggs
man.
will make
Can we
it clear.
move on,
That's
please?
our problem. We don't want to do things the right
Right.
way.
Right, that's the problem.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're on B, Madam President. Yes, consideration for ratifying suspending the payments for the parking meters for Thanksgiving has passed, but for Christmas to New Year.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and properly seconded. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, would you indicate by raising your hand? Those opposed?
I know it's after. It's like so late.
The motion carries. Consideration to engage the services of Attorney Samuel Straighten as special counsel to the Borough of Yeadon.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and properly seconded. Are there any questions?
Question. Who is Samuel Street? We don't have any information on this man. Who is he?
Yes, you have the information.
I don't have any information. If it is in this pile of paper, sorry, I don't have time to read the whole file.
I have it. Why does nobody else not have it?
Ask the question, who is it? Who is it? I don't need no whole email. Just answer my question, please. Answer my question. Do you know who it is?
Yes.
Since you know it's in the paper, who is he? Since you answering, who is he? Yeah, you the one answering.
Oh,
You answering.
You have to ask Madam President.
Well, then you're the one, what you answering for? For God's sake.
Okay.
Nice.
I can answer counsel.
Question, who is he? Where did he come from?
Mr. Straighten is special counsel to the borough in lieu of all of the litigation. As you are very much aware, we have 4 major lawsuits, and Mr. Straighten is a experienced lawyer who's been practicing in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for more than 45 to 50 years. I'm not sure, I think it's 50, but he's also very well experienced, and we want, and I'm recommending that we have special counsel to have a fresh set of eyes on these litigations so that we're able to proceed.
What's his field of expertise?
To proceed is, and those.
What's the purpose of that, Council President? What is the purpose?
Fresh set of
that?
eyes to look at all of the things that we're challenged with and to review all of the things that we are challenged with from a legal standpoint. That's the purpose.
So I have a question here. So we're involved in 4 major lawsuits. We're being defended by counsel on all of the lawsuits that we're involved in. We also have a borough solicitor. So now you're asking to spend more monies for another attorney to what? Oversee the already experienced attorneys that's representing the borough in these matters? That's what you're asking for? That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
And how much are we paying this person if we hire him?
I did see it's supposed to be $250 an hour.
Okay.
Okay, he's not asking for a retainer. I did see his letter of, his resume, so to speak, and basically, I mean, he loves to take walks in nature and things of that sort. And it makes no sense. This is not in our budget. This is not in our budget. We don't need a special counsel. We have a solicitor that we're paying handsomely every month. Every month. They have experience in the type of matters that we're being sued for. So they're the fresh set of eyes. You already hired another one Carl Ewald. Right. Who was representing you personally, and now he's representing the borough. No, we're not playing these games. It doesn't make sense.
What are y'all not hearing
from Nafis when he says
We
we don't have the money
And
to keep
stop
spending like this?
misappropriating funds.
I just don't understand.
I think this should be effective for January 2023.
Okay,
Councilor.
He's not in the budget. He's not in the budget.
For 2020.
Trim the fat.
No.
Yeah, trim the fat.
Well, I mean, there's things he needs to do. There's something, he needs to fix this, He has to enter an appearance to take a look at all the litigation that we're facing.
He does not have to enter his appearance to take a look. No, he doesn't have to enter his appearance. No, we don't. People don't believe it.
And we
don't believe it. If an attorney just wants to take a look, he does not have to enter his appearance on your behalf. Not believe it.
Counsel, you're not.
The only time he has to enter his appearance is
So I'm
if he's going to
calling for
go
the
to
vote.
court to represent you.
I am calling for the
That's the
vote.
only time.
I'm calling for the vote.
Unbelievable.
All in favor, which indicate by raising your hand. Those opposed? Those opposed?
Opposed, yes, I'm opposed.
The motion carries.
I
don't understand it.
I understand it.
It's unbelievable
That's
to
an
me.
attorney to oversee how you are being represented.
Right.
So you want
Counselor,
the tax people, the tax
Counselor,
dollars
you
to
are
pay
wrong.
for it. No, I'm
You
not.
are wrong.
No, I'm not.
You are
Look,
wrong as
you're
you
wrong
usually,
thinking that we're
as you
stupid enough to
usually
believe.
are.
That's what
You
it
are
is.
wrong.
You're wrong.
You are wrong. You are wrong. You are wrong. All right, that's it. Mayor, we're just.
That's what that's about. You want the taxpayers to pay for
Ms.
your
Carlette.
reasons and things.
Ms. Carlette.
That's what it's about.
Can you wait
That's
till I
exactly
finish my
what it's
report?
about.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to ask. Solicitor, I have nothing further to add tonight.
That's why she said if you want him to enter his appearance.
Okay, solicitor.
Entering an appearance and just looking over the case is totally different.
The tax collector's report. The tax collector is out ill, and she said she would be available to the residents on Monday. But she is fighting the flu. Okay, you can read it. Mr. Dotson, please read her report.
This is dated from 11/13/2022 to 11/30/22.
Yes.
And she's saying that the
Enter your mic, Mr.
excuse
Dotson.
me, borough real estate tax, the grand totals are $10,737.98 for real estate trash and sewer, no discounts, $976.20 in penalties, total amount $10,737.98. And on 12/1/2022 to 12/10/2022, the grand total was $14,780.91, and it's no discounts, penalties, $1,343.74, again giving us a grand total of $14,780.91. There ends the tax report.
Thank you. Okay, all right. I kind of jumped over my report tonight in order to allow Mr. Vercuso to give us everything that he has there.
Oh, Jesus.
First, I want to thank all the residents. There were residents and other people that did our first town hall meeting 2 Tuesdays ago. And contrary to popular belief, the town hall and the Zoom, the access to Zoom, is real important to get a message across. As many of you have witnessed over the past 9 or 10 months, I've been shouted down, overspoken, just disruptions where I've hardly had anything to say. Been kind of drowned out. So I want to say that I appreciate very much Mr. Brian McDonald with our IT specialist for the borough, how he assisted me in presenting a town hall. We had a total of 72 people that came on that Zoom, and I really appreciate that. My particular focus was on public safety. I made the recommendation that we hire immediately, as soon as possible, and I've been encouraged to advertise for 7 new part-time police officers in the mix now. I was one of the officers, and I just want to say to the mayor, to all of you that are present here, when we came to our Democratic Committee meeting, Christmas meeting here a couple of nights ago, one of the officers had to interrogate a burglar suspect right out here in the back seat of his car, and he got my attention. He said, "Madam President, this is what we have to do. What can you do?" And he gave me suggestions on how to advertise for part-time police officers. He and the only detective that was on duty that night, he said to me, "We need help." I said, "What about, are you aware that there's some discussion going on with Upper Darby, and last week we were able to use Darby Borough Police Department." He didn't know about any of that, but he said, "We need help, and we need help now." And so my commitment to getting part-time officers here, the fact that we had a complement of 10 part-time officers last year, and now we have 2, that is sad. And that the fact that we don't have those part-timers, and to fill in for the absences of the full-time officers that are not able to work or not able to be scheduled for whatever those reasons are, whatever that scheduling situation is. What the mayor has done today or yesterday with Mr. Boggs and with those, the mayor of Upper Darby, we're talking about our town here with little over 11,000 households here, where Upper Darby has over 100,000 residents there. So to have this type of collaboration to help us while we are in this transition of an efficiency study that was commissioned 4 months ago, that's going to be finished this December 31st. We are looking forward to whatever modifications, whatever needs to happen in Yaden's Police Department, it will be done thoroughly. It will be done with all intentionality. And so today, we have made some marks here. We don't want to invite people to come to do crime in Yaden by advertising on Nextdoor Yaden that we only had 2 police officers on duty.
Dangerous.
That is very dangerous. That is very dangerous. To put that on Nextdoor Yaden. So one of the suggestions is to advertise on some of the websites, and I think the mayor probably will speak to some of that. But we're going to aggressively, we have $124,000 in this budget from the line item of part-timers. Only $24,000 was used this year. So with all the noise and all the distractions, it's difficult to get things done when there's little to no cooperation to do that. So public safety for me is a priority as much as it is for you and the mayor and for these councilors that are seated here tonight. With regards to litigation, I want to thank those councilors who agreed to having a fresh set of eyes look at what these challenges are, these litigation challenges are for our town. In addition to that, our budgetary matters, I highlighted that in the town hall. And with regards to that, we have to carefully look at our bottom line. And we have to take into consideration what the residents of this town deserves. They should be put first, not our own political interest, our own whatever interest you have, but the interest of this community should always be put first. And that is what we're attempting to do. As promised, I mentioned it, 4 months ago we commissioned a study to evaluate our police department. to get best practices promoted here. And to, to have that type of coverage, public safety coverage that we've had the 37 years I've lived here. I could call the police, they'd be at my door in two minutes. We only have 4 mile radius here in this town. If you look at the map for Vieta, you've got the bridge to Chester Avenue. You've got Wycombe and Cobbs Creek Parkway to Lansdowne Avenue. There's not a lot of land mass here to cover. And so when we get the results of this study, and they will be released to the press and released to all of you, it'll be on our website. It's over 425-page document that will look at every aspect of this department. We are looking forward to that. And so that's my report, Mayor. You have the
Thanks for staying.
I have some questions about that town hall.
Did we lose half of our full-time police force in 1 year? Is that your question? That's my question.
So actually, that wasn't one of my questions, but thank you.
17 last January. Wait, it says
Go to the restroom.
8 full-time.
All right.
So my question, it's really not a question, but it's a shame that Senator Williams and Representative McClinton weren't able to attend that town hall. It's a shame they weren't properly, no, Senator Williams did not. No, he did not.
His staff
As a matter,
was- his
no,
staff
I'm
was on the
talking now.
call.
I'm talking, please.
The way I allowed you to speak, let me ask my questions and then you can feel free to answer.
All right,
That's
ask your
all.
question, Councilman.
So, no, it's a shame they were not properly invited, and that's why they didn't attend.
That's
And
not
number
true.
two- And number two,
That is not
I have
true.
some more you might want
That
to
is not
rebut,
true,
but you might want to
Counselor.
rebut.
That is
No,
not
no.
true. That's a lie.
No.
That's a lie.
It's not. It's
Counselor,
not.
that's a lie.
you get shouted down.
Counselor,
See?
that's a lie.
See, I didn't do that when you were speaking.
Yeah, but
I
you
didn't do
you
that.
keep propagating
No, because I'm trying to tell
lies.
you.
Yeah, but
Miss
you're giving your
Joy,
opinion,
no,
and it's
Miss
not
Joy
true.
from Senator Williams' office sent me an email advising me as to what actually took place. So I'm only going by what the senator's office representative reported to me. So, yeah, so you gave another thing.
See, I can't get, I need to answer your question
And
about
another
the,
thing,
I want to answer. Can I just,
I find you to be.
I need to answer the question.
Another thing, I find
need
you
to-
to be disingenuous when you're saying that you believe that our
need to
public
answer your
safety is priority. Because if that was the case, why don't we have an up and running civil service commission? It's not rocket science to get this commission up and running. So if you're sincere about our public safety being prioritized, we should have this
All right,
commission.
Ms. Brooks, let
And
me just explain
lastly,
this thing.
I want to thank the people
I gotta answer.
for allowing them to use your tax dollars to represent them personally in the lawsuits with the borough.
That is not true.
Thank you.
All right,
That
All
is
right,
not true. Stop telling your lies. You
All
don't
right.
even know what you're talking
okay,
about.
let me,
Why she turned to you and said he has to enter his
I
account.
already
Okay.
know what's going on.
all right,
You know, but I don't know.
Okay.
Councilor
She was
Abidi
trying
don't
to
know.
explain it to you.
Councilor
She tried to explain it to you. You didn't want to listen.
Months
She tried to tell you.
Months ago,
She tried to tell you.
Bet you she met him, and I bet you met him, and she met him.
I bet months ago, she tried to explain it to you guys. You guys just wasn't listening.
How
And
she
you don't
gonna
listen.
explain something to
What-
us
see,
and
what
you
happened-
already have the explanation.
No, what,
How you already know what's going on,
because
but she
you
already
wasn't
knows.
listening.
You object to everything, that's why.
This is why
Just for
I
the hell
said
of it.
earlier,
My-
this is
my-
why I said earlier today that I respect your comments, but
See-
when you making noise such
See-
as you are now, you're not going to hear
All right.
it.
All right.
No, you speak
Let
the
me-
truth. I told you that
Yeah.
before, right?
Counselor,
No, well, when everybody's talking
vote no
over each other, you
on
cannot.
good stuff. You vote no.
Yeah.
You vote no on
Counselor-
stuff that improves the borough.
Because
You vote no on everything.
You don't
So-
Care nothing about it.
You're disingenuous.
you.
All right, so.
You're the one.
Yeah,
You're the one.
yeah, I'll make it brief, but, but
I'm a dean, I need to say this nonsense.
one of, two things, I'm just gonna make, just read the report,
I want y'all to wrap this up, though.
but again,
Wrap it up.
but again, if public safety is number one, my report should be first or near the beginning, not at the end. Everybody's left. This is the main crux of public safety. And but anyway, the main, the main point,
Everybody happy, but we can try to make you happy. No, we can't.
the main point I was trying to make, your question,
Me too.
Sick of all that damn hot.
your question about paying for extra fat with this memorandum of agreement, $25 an hour, is actually cheap and it saves us money. Here's how. If we were holding the prisoners, this is what it entails. Somebody has to watch the prisoners. One of the things the former chief did, hold on, can I please finish so I can explain it? Wait a minute. We pay a turnkey X amount of dollars an hour to do that. The former police chief thought that it was not safe for a civilian to do it, so he had a police officer do it. So when a police officer does it, it's more than $25 an hour, whatever he makes, $30 an hour, $40 an hour. You got to feed the prisoners. You got to. Can I please finish my report? There's a lot. There's a lot of things that entails. You got to feed them. You got to watch them at the salary of that police officer. I can't believe that it's only $25 an hour. That's, as the solicitor said, I think in Darby it was $125 or something
No,
like.
two.
So
He
two?
said two.
Whatever.
At least 4 or 5 times.
It's actually cheaper, so we're actually not paying any extra money. We're actually saving money of how it was if we were to do it. There's liability issues, there's other things that we don't have to, it's just like an exchange of, if something happens, we.
Can I ask you?
Can I just finish my report?
Sure.
Our insurance kicks in, so it's actually less money. So we're not paying any extra, I can't believe it's that cheap. And the language will be I knew this was not gonna be easy, nothing here is easy. The straightforward, everybody knows what happens. It doesn't require a whole lot of argument. If you need to tighten up the language, we could tighten up the language, but the understanding is understood between both mayors, between both police chiefs, that when we hold a prisoner, have a prisoner here, we're gonna ship him over to Upper Darby. It's gonna be $25 an hour as long as that prisoner stays there. There is no controversy.
Increase their salary.
Okay, all
So
right.
for that, there's
I hear
other
what you're saying.
things.
Thank you,
Yeah,
though.
okay, so I wanted to explain, I want to explain that. Yeah,
Can I
that's a
ask you a
win-win.
question?
Yes.
So, you had mentioned about the turnkey because they were civilians, and you said
Yes.
it wasn't, their safety was in jeopardy?
Former police chief looked at that policy or that, what shall I say?
Because it's always been that way.
It's been that way for a long time, but he decided, and I agree, that a civilian is not trained. What if they have a heart attack? What if they need CPR? They don't go through all of that. They don't have any of that training. So a police officer is more experienced and qualified to oversee a prisoner.
I have a question with that. Wait a minute, I have a question with
Sure.
that. So Mary Nixon, who is a part of emergency management, she was a turnkey. And
She
so
was one of
she
them.
knew CPR, and she
Yep.
knew all the things that
Yep.
you just mentioned.
Yep.
So why did y'all stop it?
She's no longer here.
No. Why did y'all discontinue it? I mean, she still was here. She still was here.
She's one
when that
person.
change
There's several
happened.
turnkeys. There's several turnkeys.
Is the turkey watching a monitor or they in front, near the?
Well, they're both. They're watching the monitors. They'll respond. What? There are other things. There's safety issues.
The bottom line is, let's move forward with that.
Let me
I understand what you're saying. No disrespect intended. You got to report to Reed.
And then the other thing is, what if they're set up? There've been turnkey. There've been situations where they're prisoners. Some prisoners will run a scam, try to strangle or attack somebody or feign an injury, and when they get, a police officer is much more trained to watch prisoners, not a civilian. There are other issues. So you're talking about one person that's uniquely, there are a lot of, and she didn't do that all the time. She did that very rarely, especially when she took on other jobs. And you can't just rely upon one person. There's like 3 or 4 different turnkey operators that were not as qualified as Mary Nixon.
My thing for that is that's water under the bridge. Let's straighten it out. Let's get it together.
Well, this is what we're doing with the MOU.
Okay, so.
And I explained it.
Thank
You had valid questions, and I was
no.
able to explain, but I get drowned out. I mean,
No, you're not. No, we don't really mean it like that, Mayor.
Yeah. It's. If you want my report, I will.
We can read it. We can read it.
I don't want it to. The mayor's report was never at the very end. It was near the beginning because public safety is very important. It's when it waits till the end, most of the people leave.
It's gonna be on.
So you're gonna have a lot of.
So what we can do about that, Mayor, what we could do about that, if the councilors agree with me, we could put it somewhere in the middle.
It used to be
Or
at the beginning.
you put it at the beginning, and then you could leave, and then council could do their business, right?
Madam President shifted it to the end. I didn't get that, Ms. Garland. I did that. What you mean?
She said you can get your report and you can leave.
Some people did that.
That's what I wanna do right now.
Okay. All right, I'll read it. Okay, all right. Well, gee. Memorandum of understanding, we went over that, and part of that said until either the mayor here, the mayor there has a letter to cease it. I've said that we're going to maintain that until 3 things occurs. First, we must have the police chief situation finalized where we have a permanent police chief overseeing the department. Number 2, the police department must go through up-to-date, adequate, full-time staffing levels, whatever we agree that is. Number 3, all the various investigations and recommendations must be completed. And unless all 3 facets that have contributed to the lack of public safety has been addressed, we cannot safely hold prisoners in our holding cells. That goes to your question. We can't. It's proven. Whatever the reason, something happened. Whatever the reason, I'm not going to haggle over that. It's not safe right now. Okay. Holding cell upgrades. We've upgraded in the form of new cameras and monitors, along with sound that was installed in police department in November. So that has happened. So that's good, and that's waiting till all these other fixes. But at least that's happened. The recent tragedies, this has been a safe town. And I've heard some things, Madam, with all due respect, that we have a pretty safe town because we have great residents. That's partly true. We do have great, but most of our crimes are not from residents. We have domestics, yes, but it's from Philadelphia, it's from Darby, it's from Upper Darby, like these shootings. A social space. The victims were from Philadelphia. The one shooter that we got was from Philadelphia. The 6250 incident, Baltimore, people came here from out of town. There are a lot of out of towners. So the police you can't just say, we got good crime is low because we have good, no. People come from out of town and they do crime in Yaden. What we don't want, and what we had before, was people understood that you don't come into Yaden and commit crimes because we had somebody looking at the store.
Because we
had a strong police presence.
I've been seeing the police presence here lately.
We had strong police presence and a philosophy of police.
But you
People
just
knew.
can't put the things
So
on
we don't
next to a
have that.
neighbor like you put on there. That is
opening up the gates of hell for them to come in. They could cause a disturbance over here.
But here's
while all
another
the
thing.
police over here is-
Social
all
media,
the,
and I'm not,
people over here is
I'm not
getting robbed,
necessarily-
killed, or whatever.
and I'm not necessarily justifying it, but
Yeah.
all these press conferences, all these things in the newspapers, all the things about the crime, even because some people have said I shouldn't have said they were executed. Well, the district attorney said this was a cold-blooded execution. He even said that.
But you know
And some of the facts.
Sometimes, let me say this.
No.
Less said is easy as mended. And when you're talking, things that you say, and no disrespect intended, and I mean that from my heart.
Yeah.
But some things you have to think about what you're saying before you say it.
But I think all
because
of
it's
us-
not good. It's not a good look on Yaten. I want to be proud and say I live in Yaten Borough. I tell them I
You know
live in
what?
Lansdowne. That's because I'm right now I'm not
But
proud.
with all due respect, if we're talking about, if we're talking about lowering the temperature and
Let's
not.
do it together.
On,
We can.
but all
Yeah, 'cause I'm
sides,
about to
we
leave.
got
I
to
don't
do,
know what-
because
yeah,
it's not
that's
helpful,
what I'm
because some
saying.
of it, I'm responding to what people have done.
Okay.
Okay? So, all right. Public safety crisis and police staffing, our current police staffing has hit a crisis. We currently have 16 full-time officers with a perennial need of 21. In addition, 2 officers are retiring in January. We have 2 out on long-term illness. We have 2 that are expected to transfer out of the police department to take other jobs in neighboring boroughs. This would leave us with only 10 full-time officers out of 21. It would leave
Shouldn't
us
go
with
on next
only.
door neighbors.
Now, we could say this among us, with
Right.
only 1, maybe 2 at the most per shift. That's not enough. Yeah, and we could talk about it. Here's some things. And again, just like Nafis spoke to his experience on civil service and his knowledge of budgets and all that, and the engineer, I could speak. I ran the Civil Service Commission for 7 years. I've dealt with police for 40 years in my other jobs. I deal with police now as in an executive meeting where we don't have sufficient police officers in the Delaware River Port Authority. It's a crisis. We talk about strategy. We talk about police. This is my life. So I'm an authority on police. I've worked with 2 mayors. I've been mayor for 9 years. And one of the things I'm appealing to you, Councilor Brooks, is at least listen to the other side. You may disagree with me, but just listen to what I may have to say of my perspective. Here's some of them. Suggested state police coverage that was recommended is not practical for these reasons. State police coverage would need to meet. You just can't do it like that. It needs several criteria. How do I know this? Going to police, to Pennsylvania State Association of Borough meetings over the years, talking to other mayors, talking to other police chiefs. Wait, no, let me finish my report. Talking to other police chiefs. They've done it. Some people, I know the requirements. And also, I try to get it here. Like Darby got extra help and all that, and we were told that we couldn't get extra help from the state because you just can't do it like that. It has to be justified by high crime, different types of need. But we would need to pay also for the service. The state police would have to agree. It would have to be based upon many criteria that needs to be met, including crime statistics to justify a threshold we may not have reached yet, although crimes increase. It's got to be really rock bottom. It is also not a panacea, as even if they can assist, they do not cover the same provisions as our regional policing. They don't make house calls, they don't solve crimes, they don't know the neighborhood, they can't engage in community policing. They would be outsiders, and issues concerning sensitivity with our community that have been a concern before would only increase. It is also not a sound option and would not alleviate our current public safety crisis. Secondly, staff in the force would suggest that part-timers. The suggestion of beefing up part-timers to complement a lack of full-timers does not work. Do we need more? Yes, I do agree we We need more part-time. We do. However, not as, it doesn't work as a substitute. It works as an addition where they're needed. Here's the problem. We know that by trying that in the recent past, first we have advertised and we're receiving less and less candidates wanting to become part-timers. The lack of police officers is a crisis all over the country. It's not just for us. Not yet. Most wanted to be officers have their choice of full-time jobs, and many have signing bonuses. It's a crisis around the country. Why would you come to be like Mr. Rowland? You must have a great retirement program because he's the only part-timer that I know. That he's a part-timer, but he's the only one. Okay, that is willing to maintain this job under this provision. He must have it going on. I'd like to be him. Once they're trained as part-timers, we've found that what we're doing is we're praying for their training, all the sensitivity stuff, the uniforms, and all that. That's what happened when I was working with the former police chief. We trained them. As soon as they trained, they get all this qualification, the Act 20, everything else. They take full-time jobs, and we leave them. And we're the ones that are paying for their training. Then they take other full-time jobs elsewhere. Our part-time hourly wage, we talked about that, is near the bottom. It's not as competitive. The finance director said they're up in that like $2 an hour. That's helpful, but it's still very, very competitive. It's very competitive. And even if we received all the part-time officers we needed and employed them, it would put us over the percentage of bank of hours we faced before, where we incurred the penalty because it's based upon how many full-timers we have. So in their contract, if we go over the bank of hours, and that's what happened before, but we could justify it better because we were in a pandemic and we had the social arrest and we knew we were getting reimbursement from the county and as well as the federal government, which we did, that way over, we went much more than what we had to pay out the union. But if we did it again, there's no emergency except for what we've done, our own making. So that will put us in jeopardy where that will happen again.
Yeah, but you learn from your mistakes, so you wouldn't do that again. You'd be,
It's not.
Right, so.
Well, before, everywhere around the country, police budgets were way over because of the pandemic and everything else. That was an emergency situation.
And I understand, I get it.
This is managing.
But I have a question.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
This sounds like, it screams to me that there's so few candidates in the academies, and there are retiring police officers, and we can't recruit. Doesn't this scream for regionalization of the police department?
Yeah. That's what it screams.
Because
I could answer that.
You address the issue.
I could answer that.
You address the issue of more police and so forth and so on and part-time, but as we move forward into the future, I don't understand why we're not addressing the issue with other boroughs about regionalizing our police. And on top of it, we're talking about how much money we spend out of our budget.
Yeah.
Let me add to that. Can I please add to that real quick? So Thornberry, out in, by Glen Mills, there's no crime. They have a lot of money. Public safety is $280,000.
Yeah.
$280,000.
Not 4.1 million.
I mean, the thing, and look, I don't have a right to really, but it really just blows my mind that this area of Delaware County pays 60% of its budget. All, Upper Darby, Fallcroft, Sheridan Hill, 60% of its budget, and Thornberry gets away with less than 300,000. How is that allowed to happen?
Because Thornberry, it's a well-to-do, upscale.
That's not fair.
I know it's not fair.
That's exactly.
It isn't
I
fair.
don't have the right to say it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I sit here long enough listening to this, and it
What's your solution?
County police force. And
What?
I know that that's
What is your
controversial.
solution?
County police force, and the FOP will
Yeah.
come after me for saying it.
Yeah.
I love my friends in the FOP.
And-
but that is.
and
Chris-
Chris-
Baltimore County Police Department.
I think that's a
He-
great
Paul,
idea.
Towson, it doesn't matter.
Listen, no, this is not the first time that's been proposed. Again, I've spoke to other mayors, other PSAB meetings and all that. The problem with that is all the mayors and all the councilors have to agree to it. So we would have to, our mayor, Upper Darby mayor, all and people don't like to lose. Go ahead, be my guest. And you know why? It probably won't, because everybody would have to agree with it.
Everybody bring their budgets to the meeting.
Yeah, if you could do it, that's fine, but that's the problem.
Before we leave, in order to do the meeting the right way,
All right.
is 13, 14, 15, we need, before we adjourn, we have to do business correctly. So any committee report, Mayor, you run the meeting, but these things need to go out and we adjourn.
Oh, we didn't adjourn the meeting yet.
We didn't adjourn, no. So committee reports. You have to add the question, we can go right through it and we can get out.
Oh, go ahead, read it.
Okay, so committee reports, library.
Library left.
They left.
Community affairs, ordinance and zoning.
Everybody left.
Public works, public safety. Okay, so old business, any old business?
No old business.
Citizens forum.
None left.
Madam President, you can adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Ah, there you go.